All right, wonderful. Well, once again, welcome everyone to your deep dive this month on 4 ways to keep your clients engaged and accountable using Practice Better. So I am Jen, I'm community manager with Practice Better, and this is my colleague Sam. Hey, Sam.
Hey, Jen.
Yeah, so we're excited to dive into this topic today and hope you're going to find it really valuable. Just a couple housekeeping items before we dive into our content today. So definitely please feel free to utilize the chat for any questions that you have throughout the session. There's many of us joining the session today, which is amazing, but just know we probably won't be able to get to every single question. So we'll try our best to address what we can, but just know at the end, we'll be sharing a few really amazing resources that will allow you to get further support if you need it, okay? Like I said, the replay for this session, for this deep dive, will be posted on our YouTube channel. So you can come back to it anytime if you have to drop off early or anything like that. You can easily find that later. And then one last thing just to mention is that at the end of our session today, you will see a pop-up with a feedback survey. And we always like to share these feedback surveys for the deep dives, just to really get your feedback on what you liked, what you wish you could see next time. It really helps to inform, the resources and content we create for you going forward. So we'd really appreciate if you just had 1 minute to complete that at the end. And I'm going to put the link in the chat now in case you do have to go early. But what we're actually offering today as well, as you'll see in one of our demos, is a free form access code for a check-in form if you complete the feedback survey. So you're going to learn more about what that is in our session today, but just wanted to mention that. Okay, beautiful. All right, so let's get started. So just to sort of introduce our topic today, so client accountability and engagement. So this is something that I think becomes really top of mind for many practitioners, no matter where you're sort of at in your business, is, how can you keep your clients motivated and engaged between sessions with, the work that you're doing together. That's essential to, ensure they're getting the results that you want to get for them. And so what we're going to go through today is a few ways that you can really do that in Practice Better. So we're going to talk about some of the most impactful features you can use to boost accountability and engagement, strategies for both one-on-one and group clients, so both. And then also one of our favorite things to talk about, how to save time by automating some of this stuff. So by automating the engagement and accountability process. There's many features in the platform that will allow you to do that. And yeah, so one other thing I wanted to share too before we start is we did a recent survey, and actually 43% of our community said they were concerned about how they can improve client engagement with their services and programs. So maybe you were part of that survey, but that is, just really tells us that this is a topic that you're interested in. And so we're really excited to dive into it today. Okay. Amazing. All right, let's, Sam, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, we can turn our cameras off and we're going to dive into our session here. And while we're doing that, I would love to hear from all of you in the chat. What are your favorite, do you have a favorite client engagement and accountability strategy that you use with your clients already? So just let us know in the chat if there's something that works really well for you. Would love to hear what you're already doing with your clients. Okay, I think we're all set to go. And Sam, your screen looks great there. Perfect. All right, so I see Kelsey had said the tasks feature. Marissa said sending check-ins in the chat. Awesome. And Tasha's new and hasn't tried too many strategies yet. Okay, perfect. Well, this will definitely give you some really good ideas. Accountability and check-in forms, food journal. Yeah, programs feature. Okay, perfect. So yeah, you're already sort of touching on some of the things we're going to talk about today. And let's dive in with the first strategy. So this is actually around using forms to keep clients engaged. So we're going to show you how to do this, but just to sort of set the stage, the forms feature in Practice Better is actually a really great option for keeping your clients engaged, because when you're sending them a form, you're asking for their involvement, right? Their involvement in the process, you're asking for their response and their input, and sort of keeping them accountable to that. And, when we think of forms, and, many of you have probably used forms, it's often for standard things like maybe intake forms, things like that. But in this case, we want to talk about using forms kind of creatively to help keep clients engaged. So I even saw it in the chat already. Things like check-in forms with clients, maybe it's like a symptom assessment form, even a goals tracking form. So those are just a few sort of examples of what that could look like. And the great thing about using forms in Practice Better, and those of you who have used them already would know that it's all done electronically. So this makes it really easy for your client to complete. They can do that on their, even right on their phone, on their computer, their tablet, whatever it might be. And that really helps with compliance in and of itself, right? They're not having to print anything out, complete it by hand, scan it, send it back to you. It's all done virtually, and it just makes it a lot easier for both you and the client. So we're going to talk about and show you a couple of examples of engagement type forms. And we're also going to look at how you can streamline the use of forms with clients. So how you can automate them, send recurring forms, include them in your program modules, things like that. Yeah. So let's dive in with our first piece, which is just to share a couple examples of forms that you could use to keep clients accountable. And again, one of them, the check-in form, is a bonus we're going to provide to you if you do complete our feedback survey at the end. Okay. So Sam, let's dive in.
Thanks, Jen. So as you outlined, there's a lot you can do with forms in terms of keeping your clients engaged. So let's first take a look at how these forms can be structured in terms of content. We'll first navigate at the top to My Practice, and then when this expands, we'll go to Forms and Waivers. Here, you can find any form templates that you've created on the platform. And the first one we're going to discuss is the check-in form. This will be made available to you, to clients, as you mentioned, Jen, at the end of the webinar, for those of you who complete the survey. And you can basically customize it however you'd like. So I'll go ahead and click on the check-in form here. And when it opens, my internet just seems to be going a little bit slow right now. When it opens, you'll see that this form, I've created it as a shorter form, because essentially I intend to have the clients complete this on a regular basis. And basically, I don't want to overwhelm them with too many responses. So for example, as a quick check-in, I have created a scale here at the top. And this scale will allow me to quickly gauge where the client is at. And to do that, I just use the scale element, which can be found here on the right-hand side. And then if we scroll down a little bit further, you'll note below that I've also created a few short response questions so that I can ensure I have the information I need to conduct my next session with the client. However, each of you are going to use different types of information that you want to capture, and you'll have different methods of doing so. So you can really customize this form to best suit your needs. For example, if I wanted the clients to check off symptoms that they are feeling that week, I could use something like the checkbox element over here. One other great thing I want to highlight here is you'll notice these little red asterisks beside some of these questions. What these are is these are answers that are required, and your client must complete them before submitting the form. This is key for client engagement because it ensures that they are entering the information that you need, and it puts the onus on them to be prepared for your next session. And one other thing to note too is for those of you who receive this form, should you want to say edit or delete any of these fields here, you can absolutely do so. To edit, you would just select the pencil icon here. And if there's a field that's not really required by yourself, you can just select the trash icon here to delete it. And then basically, once you've kind of gone through and made any changes to this check-in form that you would like, all you would need to do is just select Save and Exit, which is right here at the top. And then once you do so, your form will be ready and good to go. So what I want to do now is there's another type of, another example of a type of form that we would recommend is called the 30-day goal planner. And I'm going to show you that in a sec. I do apologize here. My internet does seem to be going a little bit slow right now. So I'm just going to need to go back here, and we'll go back to our forms and waivers section. And I'll pull up the 30-day goal planner, which is right here.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, Sam, with that, this was just, we really just wanted to show this just as an example of another type of, form you could use as an accountability type form. So just to sort of give you some ideas kind of thing. So yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Awesome. Yeah, right you are, Jen. So with this, like, for example, you'll see that a form like this is kind of a great way to ensure clients are keeping engaged and actively logging things like their areas to improve. So you'll see in this form, for example, that I have used like a table element. And you can basically completely customize this if there's any information that you would like to capture from your clients in this way. And you'll see below that I've also done more short responses. And I believe at the very bottom, I have a scale again as well, just to see how confident they are about reaching their goals. So basically, these two forms are kind of meant to give you an overview of the types of things that you can accomplish with them in terms of your client engagement. And we'll shortly review how you can actually start sending these to your clients.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, that's great. And I love these two examples because I think it just shows the capability to use the forms feature in a bit of a different way than just a typical maybe intake form or, some sort of form like that, to just be able to use it, more as an engagement type resource in the platform. And again, that check-in form, the first form that Sam showed, that's the one that we'll provide to you as a template if you complete our feedback survey at the end. Okay. And I saw also a couple of questions about, is this being recorded? Yes, it is. And it will be posted to our YouTube channel. And as well, you'll get the replay email with a link to watch it afterwards. Okay. Okay, wonderful. So now that you've sort of seen a couple just examples, sort of ideas of types of forms you could use to keep clients accountable and engaged, we want to really look at actually how you can send them, because this is going to be a really nice thing with Practice Better, that you can send them in a really streamlined and often automated way. And it's one thing to want to use these forms with your clients, but you don't want to actually add a ton of, admin time or just general time to your plate, having to manually send things. So we're going to show you how to both set up a form automation as well as a recurring form. So both of these features will help you streamline and automate the form sending process, which can, just therefore streamline and automate the client engagement process in general, right? So the first example we're going to go over is, so let's just say as an example, you want to send that check-in form that we looked at to your client every week, maybe during your 6 months working together. So maybe you're working together in a 6-month package and you want to check in with them every single week using that form. So you can actually set that up as a recurring form with an end date. And once you set that up, it's sort of a one and done, and there's no manual work on your end. So Sam's going to show us how to set that up. And one thing I did want to mention is that with recurring forms, this is available on our professional plan and up. Okay. So yeah, Sam, let's take a peek at how we could set that up as a recurring form.
Thanks, Jen. So I saw a few clients note that they might have been having trouble hearing me. So I'll just try and talk a bit louder to make sure everyone can hear, because I want to make sure you guys are getting all the information from this webinar, because I do think it will be helpful. So let's do exactly what Jen said, and we're going to use the check-in form we reviewed earlier to set up a recurring form. The first step to do this would be to navigate to our client's record. So we're going to go to My Clients at the top here. And then, sorry, that went fast, but I just clicked My Clients. And then when that opens up, I'm just going to go ahead and select my client, Mary. So I'll click on Mary's name. And when her dashboard opens, I'll be able to see all of her information. So I'm going to go ahead, and on the left-hand side here, you'll see the Forms and Waivers tab. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that. When I do so, basically all of the forms that she has been sent are going to appear in her Forms and Waivers section. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to select the Fast Action button in the bottom right-hand corner, the Send Forms option. And if you are on the team plan like I am, a prompt will appear to select the team member the form will be sent on behalf of. So I'm going to go ahead and select Wendy, which is myself. And then you'll notice in the Send Forms window that there are two tabs at the top, Forms to Send and Recurrence Options. The first step here would be to select the check-in form, the one that we were just looking at earlier, from the drop-down menu. So I'll select check-in form. And then once I'm done here, all I would need to do is click on this Recurrence Options tab at the top. From here, all I'll need to do is enable this option where it says Send Forms on a Recurring Schedule. And you'll notice when I do so that I can select the schedule these forms can be sent on. So I can opt to send them daily, weekly, or monthly, which allows you to be really granular with your settings and lets you customize these on a client-by-client basis. So because this is intended to be a weekly check-in, I'm going to leave it as repeats as weekly, which is by default is what it's set to, and that this form is going to send every 1 week. Please note that the first form will send immediately, so I can choose when the schedule will begin with the next form using the Send Forms option on, which is Send Next Forms on, which is right here. Because I do want this to start exactly 1 week from today, I'm going to select April 7th. And because today is a Thursday, I am going to leave that enabled because I want them to be received on Thursdays. But I could opt to change the day of the week that the form is sent. If for example, you notice some clients engage better on Mondays or Fridays, you can select whichever day of the week that you would like the form to send. But for now, I'm just going to leave it on Thursdays. And then here, the last option to note is that you can set an end date for the forms to be sent. This is handy if you need to collect information over a certain period of time. So this form, for example, let's say I want to stop it after 6 months. All I would need to do is click this window here, and then I can go ahead and I'll select October, and I'm going to do exactly 6 months. So I'm going to do October 7th, 2022. And then when that's enabled, the forms will stop sending at that time. So now that I've configured everything in terms of the current settings of the forms, I can actually click on this little upcoming schedule button here. And this button will preview the dates of when the form will send. So that way you can know exactly when your client can expect to receive this check-in form and when they're able to complete it. So basically, now that I'm finished, all I would need to do is just go ahead and click Confirm and Send here at the bottom. When I do so, the form will now appear in their forms and waivers section like their other forms. So a handy little feature is you can quickly check which forms of a client's are recurring when you see the recurring form icon, which is right here. To note, your clients will receive email notifications when the recurring form has been made available to them, which will certainly help boost your client engagement.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, that's great. And one thing I just wanted to address, there was a question I did respond in the chat, but Jocelyn had asked, is there a way to avoid the form being sent immediately when you set up the recurrence and just have it sent for the first time at a set date? So yeah, Sam and I were talking about that before, not at the moment. So the first form will go out immediately. But that is a request we have received with our team. So definitely something that we're considering on that piece. Okay, great. Wonderful. So now that we've sort of looked at how you can set up that recurring form, that's a really nice option if, again, you have a client who you want to sort of send something on a regular schedule with, like this example, sort of that weekly check-in form. But, maybe you have another situation where you want to automatically send a form to a client based on a certain service or session. And so that's where we're going to look at form automations. So our form automations are really just another way to basically automate and streamline that form sending process for your clients. And what we're going to look at with this example is, let's say, with that goal planning form we looked at, maybe you want to send something like that to all of your clients following an initial consultation session. So you want that to go out to them always after that initial consult. So you could actually set that up as a form automation so that you don't have to remember to manually send it. it'll just, automatically happen for you. Another nice sort of one and done piece with the platform. And just to note as well, form automations that we're going to look at now are available on all plans. That may be a question that comes up, but it's available on all plans. So Sam, let's take a peek at how we could set up a form automation for this example of wanting to send out a form to our clients following their initial consult session.
Awesome, thanks, Jen. So I did see a question in the chat about how to send forms after a session is booked with a client, and that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So basically, the recurring forms is a great one that we went over for weekly check-ins, but I also want to highlight the other common feature, which is via automations. So with an automation, you can set forms to send when a session or package is confirmed. For this, I want to use the other form we reviewed, the goal planner, and set it up so that clients receive this form when they book a session with me. To do so, I will navigate to My Practice, and I will just select Automations, which is right here towards the bottom. From here, I'm just going to go ahead and select the red plus button in the bottom right-hand corner, the fast action icon, to create an automation. And when I do so, you'll see you can automate a bunch of different things on the platform, but the one that I am looking for is to send forms after a booking is confirmed. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So you can give the automation a name, which, just to note, is entirely for your own self-reference and cannot be seen by the clients. So I'm just going to name this, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to do send goal planner. So that way I just can kind of quickly check what I need. And then in the drop-down menu below, where it says which service should trigger this form to send, you can basically select which specific service is going to actually trigger this form to be received by the client. So all I would need to do is expand this drop-down here by clicking here. And then I would go ahead and I'm going to uncheck my group yoga one, and I'm going to check the initial consultation because I want them to receive it after they book that session. So I'll go ahead and enable that. And then another cool little feature here is where it says when should we send the forms. Underneath that, I can say that, like, let's say I wanted their goal planner to be completed in advance of the session because I want to basically know what they're looking for before I meet with them. All I would need to do is just go ahead and expand this, and I can do schedule forms to be sent before or after session date. And then you can set this to be up to 1 week before or after. But for the simplicity of this, I'm just going to say 2 days before the session because that gives them enough time to complete it, and it's not too far in advance that they might forget. So that would be it in terms of doing the actual structure of the automation. So the very last step is I would just need to scroll down here, and you'll see underneath which forms would you like to send. You have the option to select whatever forms you'd like. So I'm just going to go ahead and select my 30-day goal planner here. However, if I wanted to, I could send other forms via this automation as well and could check them off. So now that I'm finished, all I need to do is select create, and then my automation will be completed, and it will now send forms, my 30-day form, when a client books an initial consultation with me.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, so that's just one example of how you could use the form automation, but you could always set that up to send out to a client prior to a session, after a session, sort of whatever works with your own workflow there. But I love that automation. It's just takes so much time and energy off your plate. You don't have to worry about remembering to send that, and you can keep your client engaged and accountable through that form on an automated basis. You just no manual work, which is really nice. And I saw there was a couple questions coming through about the check-in form that we're providing as a free bonus for completing our feedback survey. So once you I just want to mention, once you complete that feedback survey, you'll see a thank you message that provides you with a help article link that tells you the instructions for how to download that form in your own account. Okay, so there's an access code that's provided as well as a help article link to show you how to download the form in your own account. Okay, perfect. Wonderful. So continuing on this theme of using forms with our clients to keep them accountable, we also want to talk about how you can actually deliver forms to groups of clients at once. And one way that you can do that we're going to show you in a minute here is through your programs or courses. So just to mention before we do dive into this, with the programs, features, and practice better, the fixed date program is available on our professional plan and up, and the evergreen and fixed date option available on our plus plan and up. So with this, ability to include forms as part of your programs, this is really nice because you can send it to, again, groups of clients at once that are taking part in your program, and really helps to keep everyone in the group engaged. And I think this is often a really important piece to consider when you're working with groups versus one-on-one clients is, engagement and accountability and all of that. And so this is one way that you can really do that in practice better. So we're going to use another example for this one, which Sam will show us in a moment. But let's say you're running a 30-day group program. Maybe it's like a health reset program. And let's say you want to actually deliver that check-in form that we've been looking at to your program participants on a weekly basis. So you can actually just add that form to your weekly module, and it will be delivered then automatically once that module is released to your program participants. So Sam, let's take a look at how we can actually set that up.
Thanks, Jen. So I do see a few good questions in our chat here. So Taylor had asked, what if someone signs up for that wasn't the question I was looking for. So Ashley had asked, so with the check-in, could it be automated to go at every follow-up? And yes, with the one that we just created, every time a client books a follow-up session with you, if you leave an option disabled so that the form can be sent multiple times, you can absolutely do that. And then another person had asked, Joyce, can you send videos to groups using the programs feature? You can embed videos into programs as well as provide links to them. And then the last question I wanted to address was someone had asked about like a form that they have outside of Practice Better. You can upload PDFs to Practice Better in the forms and waivers section, and those can be sent to clients automatically as well. But those would need to be completed outside of our software. Your client could download them to your computer and then fill them out there. Awesome. So now we'll go ahead and we're going to take a look at what you talked about, Jen, which was attaching forms to a program module. So if you go ahead here and we'll navigate to My Practice, and we're going to go ahead and select My Programs at the top here. And I do have a program I created, so I'm going to use my Health Reset program and just click on that to open it. And basically, let's say I wanted to add this form to my first module so that all my clients will receive it once a module is made available to them. To do so, all I would need to do is I'm going to scroll down. You can see all my modules that I have here in my program. I'm going to scroll down and select Edit beside my first module because that's when I want it to be received. I'll just go ahead and select Edit here. And then this is basically where you come to edit your module content and add anything that you would need to. So for this, because I just want to add a form for now, all I'm going to do is select the Forms and Worksheets tab at the top. Once I do so, all I need to do from here is I'll just select Add Form to Complete. And when I do so, this will populate with every form that I have in my Forms and Waivers section. So all I would need to do is I'm going to expand this. And from here, I'm just going to scroll right down and I'll find my 30-day goal planner. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my module, and I'll select Add. And then you can attach multiple forms as well. So let's say I want to do my 30-day goal planner and my weekly check-in form. All I would need to do is select Add Another, and then expand the drop down again. And then I'll scroll down and I'll just go ahead and add my weekly check-in form. And I will select Add. And then basically you can go through and add the forms. You can also reorganize them on the using this option on the left-hand side here. And then when I'm satisfied and I've added all the forms that I would like, all I would need to do is go ahead and select Save Changes. And they will be attached to my module and made available to your clients when the module unlocks.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's great, Sam. And this is so nice, like, if you are running a group program, to just be able to have those forms be delivered just automatically when the module releases. And there was a really great question also in the chat from Jen, just asking if there was a way to deliver forms to your group of clients that isn't at the same time that your module is released. And what I suggested is you could actually create an additional module that's solely for the purpose of delivering a form at a separate date and time. So that could be one way that you do that. So just wanted to call that out as well, because I think that's a great question. Awesome. Okay, so we've covered a few pieces of forms, of ways you can use forms, right? We've talked about some ideas for how, the types of forms that you could create to keep clients engaged and accountable, and some ways to really streamline and automate that process of sending them and sharing them, not only with one-on-one clients, but also with groups. And the next strategy we want to talk about is actually using tasks as a tool to keep your clients on track. And we love tasks because these really help to support your clients in getting through and getting all of their to-do list items done, keeping them on track with their goals, making sure they're engaged with the work that you're doing together. And so we're going to look at a couple aspects of tasks. So we're going to look at how you can set up a template for your task, so you could easily use your tasks over and over again without having to, reinvent the wheel every time. And we're also going to share, similar to how we've done with forms, how you can automate and really save time with the creation of your tasks for your clients. So the first thing we want to touch on, the first example is, let's say that you want to create a task with a reminder for your client to complete that weekly check-in form. So we've already, in the previous step, set up the recurring form for our client, but maybe we also want to create a task with a reminder for the client to complete that form. So there's sort of two pieces to it. It's sending the form on a recurring basis, but also then creating a task with a reminder for them to complete it. So just sort of in an effort to, amp up that level of accountability and engagement just by, having multiple touch points with the client. So Sam, let's take a peek at how we can do that, how we can set up a task for our client here.
Thanks, Jen. So start a couple more, few good questions here. So someone asked about, like, if you have a fixed date program, would you have to recreate it from scratch? Like, let's say I want to run another fixed date program, like this one runs from March 24th to December 24th. And let's say I want to run another one next year from March 24th to December 24th. You're actually able to duplicate your programs at any time. So if you ever need to, you can just duplicate your program, adjust the module unlock dates, and that will allow you to basically carry your program content forward, saving you the time of having to recreate it from scratch. So yeah, like you mentioned, Jen, let's go ahead and talk about task templates. So they are actually a new feature that we have in Practice Better. And we found that a lot of people were requesting it, and it was something that people wanted to see. And I do think it is a big time saver. So let's first navigate to my schedule at the top here, and we're going to click on my tasks. From here, we're going to go ahead and select the fast action button in the bottom right-hand corner. And there'll be this option here that says create template. It's the option with the wand. So all I would need to do is go ahead and create that. So because I want the client to be assigned the task for engagement, I'm going to leave the who is this task for option, which is right here at the top. I'm going to leave this as for the client. And because this task is linked to the recurring form we created earlier, I will label this task. I'm going to just name it something straightforward and easy. So I'll do complete your weekly check-in form. I'll put that as the label. And I'm also going to put that as the task name, just complete your weekly check-in form. If you want it as well, you can also add additional notes below. This would be good for things like instructions or basically any general information you want your clients to know. And then if we scroll down a little bit further, you'll see there's a few other options below. One important one here is the priority option. So basically you can make your task as either a normal priority status or a high priority status if you want your clients to be aware of kind of the importance of completing this task. And to note, you can also set a duration on the right-hand side here. And with the duration, that's related to tasks that are time-based. So for example, if your client wanted to go, if you wanted your client to go for a 20-minute jog, you could just assign a task with that duration right here. You can also below set due dates for the task, as well as send reminders. If you want your clients to receive as many notifications as possible for maximum client engagement, you could enable both send a reminder to complete this task and send a notification when task is created. For now, though, I'm going to go ahead and leave these disabled. Now we're going to set this up to be recurring and timed with the check-in form that we just set up, the recurring form that we had just created. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and click on the recurrence options tab here at the top. And then you'll notice that this looks very similar to the forms that we just done. So all I need to do is I'm going to go ahead and enable this. And then the recurrence options are going to populate here. So similar to forms, I can opt to send them daily, weekly, or monthly. I'm going to go ahead and leave this as repeats weekly and set it to repeat after 1 week because I want to coordinate this with my with the form that we had just done. And then again, I'm going to leave Thursdays enabled, but if I want to switch up the day that the task is created, I could do that. So for example, if let's say I wanted them to receive the task the day after they receive the form, I could do that, and that would kind of stagger the notifications and serve as a reminder to them that they still need to complete the check-in form. So it's great for kind of like making sure your client is engaged over a longer period of time. So because this is linked to my form, I also want to create an end date for this. So I'm going to go ahead and do the send and end date for the series. And I'm going to go ahead and change this to 6 months, just like my form, my recurring form that I created. And then I'm also going to, at the bottom here, I'm going to enable this send notification when recurring tasks are created. So that way the client is being notified every time they get a recurring task created automatically by the system. So it's another way to kind of engage with your clients via notifications, making sure that they're being reminded of doing something without you needing to actually do that manually. So now that I've configured this, all I would need to do is just go ahead and select save at the bottom. And then now let's kind of quickly go over how I can actually create a task for a client of mine using the template we just created. To do so, we're just going to go ahead and select the fast action button in the bottom right-hand corner. And this time I'm going to select create task. And then you have a few options here. As you'll note, you can create a task for yourself, for a client, or if you're on the team plan, you can create one for a team member. But this is for my client. So I'm going to do create a task for a client. And then again, I'll just select the team member, which is myself. And then I'm going to go ahead and select my client, who is Mary. And then the important thing to note here is I can select, see at the very bottom left-hand corner here, you'll see that there's this use template option. All I would need to do is go ahead and click that. And this is the template that we just created. And when I click that, it will populate with the recurrence options that we had just created. So I'm going to go ahead and click the recurrence options here. And you'll see like the next task is going to be created a week from today. It's going to end on October 7th. So basically, if you're planning on structuring your tasks and check-ins with your clients, kind of similarly across all your clients, the task template will save you a lot of time because you don't have to manually come in and create this every time for each client. So now that I'm done, all I would need to do is you can see here with the similar to the upcoming forms, you can also view the upcoming tasks, so you know the exact schedule. I have this set to go at the same time as my forms, which is 8 a.m. But I could change that if I wanted to a different time. So really, let's get granular with what you're looking to do. So now all I would need to do here is I want to note that you can adjust if you want to adjust specific settings for this specific client. I could do like the send due dates if I find this client engages better with that, or do send reminders again if the client is responsive to that. But I'm just going to leave everything as their default, and all I would have to do now is select save, and that task has been assigned to the client, and I'm all finished.
Perfect. Thanks, Sam. That's great. Yeah, the task templates, we are just loving that ability to have, you don't have to create them over and over again. I think that just can take so much time and energy when, often you may have certain tasks that are similar across multiple clients, or you want to just use the same task again with the same client. You just set that up as a template, and then you don't have to worry about, copy pasting, trying to find it or whatever it is. And then having those recurrent settings, similar to forms is really great as well. I saw a question around, can we add a video to a task? So you can embed a video, but you could put like a link if you had the video housed somewhere else. You could always include like a URL as part of like the description of the task. Yeah, maybe just open one up, Sam, and we can sort of just show like where you could put it. Yeah, the additional notes section. So you could just put a link there if you wanted. So that could be a way to do that. Okay, great. So just to keep us on track, we want to make sure we can get to all of the content we have planned for you today. We're going to continue on here. And what we want to share next regarding tasks is just another way to really automate them based on a couple of different scenarios that you could potentially use. So maybe based on booking a certain service, a package, or a program, or maybe you want to automate a task to be created a certain amount of time before or after a session itself. And so in this example, let's look specifically at maybe we want to create a task for your client to complete their, say, goals form 2 days prior to your next follow-up session. So this is just going to help with that compliance piece, making sure that they actually complete that task. In this case, it's completing a form by reminding them a couple days before your next session. So that's just going to mitigate you sort of getting to the day of the session and not having the information that you need from them. Setting up a task automation for something like this would really help in that case. And again, with all of our automations, similar to the form automation we looked at, it's really nice because you just set it up once and it's a one and done. It'll just automatically create that task for your client based on the schedule you've set up. No manual work, no remembering to remind your client and all of that. So yeah, Sam, let's take a peek at how we can use the task automations.
Thanks, Jen. So to create a task automation, we're going to go back to where we did the form automation, which is we're going to expand my practice at the top here. And we'll go ahead and click on this automations tab. And then from here, I'm going to select the fast action icon again in the bottom right-hand corner. And then the one that I want to do this time is this one right at the very bottom here, which is schedule tasks after a booking is confirmed. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a name. So I'm just going to copy a name that I have already because this is a longer one. So I'm going to do, because we find a lot of practitioners use a lot of automation. So giving them specific names can sometimes help with designating what each one is for. So you'll see here, I created this one and named it Create Task Reminder to Complete Goal Planner 2 days prior to follow-up session. And this time, rather than linking this to my initial consultation, I'm going to go ahead and link this to my follow-up consultation because you can set different automations per service. So under which service should trigger this automation, I'm going to expand this, uncheck my group yoga, and check my follow-up consultation. And then similar to the forms, I'm going to enable the option to schedule tasks to be created before or after session date. And because I want this completed in advance of our session, I'm going to do the similar to the forms and leave this as 2 days before the session. So this part is all configured now. So the last step is all I need to do is select add task here. And I want to note here that while we are creating a task for a client, please note that you can also create a task for yourself. This is very handy if you often want to be reminded of things that you may need to do in advance of the session. So I would recommend, if you haven't looked into that already, consider doing that just to help yourself keep organized and make sure that your clients are getting everything that you need. So I'm going to do this, of course, because this is meant for my client. I'm going to select for client. And from here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to name this task complete your 30 days goal planner. And then if I wanted to, under additional notes, like similar to how we did it earlier, I could add specific notes related to this task for the client. So all I would need to do is from here is if I want to set the priority, which I do want to change this time. So let's say that this is more of an urgent thing. I'm going to go ahead and change the priority to high. So that way the client has the idea that this is something a bit more pressing that they need to get done. So I'll change this to high here. And this time I'm also going to set a due date. So because I'm hoping to have the client complete this before our session, I'm going to set the due date as 2 days after the task is created, which will end up being on the day of our session. And lastly, I'm going to do send a notification when task is created here. So that way the client receives an email notification that the task is ready for them. So to note as well with task automations is at this time, you can't create recurring tasks from automations, and you can only create one-off tasks like the one that we've done here. So the recurring task would have to be the method that we had done, that we had just went over. So now that I'm finished, all I need to do is select add. and then I will select create. And now this automation will be finished and will automatically assign this task to a client once a follow-up session is booked.
Great. Yeah, so this is just another, like we said, really nice way to sort of automate that process of keeping your client accountable. You could use that in many different ways. Again, with this example, we're talking about reminding them 2 days prior to a follow-up session, but if you wanted to create a task for them, a certain amount of time after a session, you could also do that. So there's many ways that you can utilize that automation. I saw a question that I did want to address from Jonah. If the form is made available to the client earlier than you want the task reminder to go out, will it still send the task reminder if they have already filled out the form? So just generally, like the task automations and recurring tasks and form automations, it's not linked, they're not linked to each other in any way. So what we're using in this example is basically just we're setting them up to go out at a similar cadence, meaning, on that recurring basis, but they don't speak to each other. So, completion of a form isn't going to impact the recurring task and vice versa, if that makes sense. So just wanted to address that piece. Okay. All right, wonderful. So we've covered tasks, and I think, again, hopefully that's helpful in giving you a few ideas of how you can use tasks to keep your clients accountable and engaged, and how you can do that in a way that's not going to take up more of your time. It's actually going to save you time. And the next piece we want to talk about, I know this was something that someone had mentioned at the beginning around how they keep their clients accountable, is through using the journals feature. So we want to talk about that next. So in Practice Better, there is a journals feature for those of you who may not have used it before. And this can be a really great way to sort of have a framework for keeping your clients motivated and involved in the process, having visibility into their, how their progress is going and all of that. And so in Practice Better, which we'll show you in a moment, you have both a food and mood journal as well as a lifestyle journal. These are optional to give your clients access to only if you choose to use them. The food and mood journal is for things like tracking of meals, their water intake. The lifestyle journal will cover things like sleep, exercise, measurements, and so on. And what we want to do today is actually just highlight a couple of specific key features within the journals that can really help with the accountability and engagement aspect. So Sam's going to show us in a moment, but just to sort of share where we're going with this, the first thing we want to talk about is setting up journal targets for your clients. So those are basically setting up goals for your client within their journal for things like their water intake, their sleep, their activity. So just a really nice way to give your client clear goals that they're very much aware of and can stay accountable to. We're also going to look at how you can comment on journal entries back and forth with your client, which is a really nice way to have that real-time communication and engagement with them. And as well, we're going to look at how you can optionally give your clients access to view the journal analysis, which is, as you'll see in a minute, sort of, a really nice data presentation of, some of their progress and all of that. So yeah, Sam, let's dive into the journals, and we're going to highlight a couple of those key features that can really help keep our clients engaged and accountable.
Thanks, Jen. So let's do the first thing you mentioned, which is reviewing the journal targets, which is great for keeping our clients on track. So to enable these, let's first navigate to a client's record. So I'm going to go ahead and click My Clients at the top here. And then all I'm going to do is select, again, my client, Mary. And then on the left-hand side, you'll see this Journals option here. All I would need to do is go ahead and open her Journals tab. So I'm going to review her entries for yesterday, which was March 30th. So we'll see here, there's a few things I want to draw your attention to in this section. And I'm sure some of you have been using this pretty thoroughly already. But you'll see here on the right-hand side, we have the day summary, as well as the nutrient targets and totals. So the day summary is handy for quickly seeing all the information relevant to your client for that day. You'll see here that my client has reached a few of her targets for the day, including water intake. These targets can be edited and customized per client by selecting the Edit Targets option here. Just this little bullseye, this will be on the top of each of your client's journals. You just go ahead and click that, And when you do so, you will be able to see all the targets that you've set right here. So I have like water intake, target weight, daily activity, sleep, as well as some nutrient consumption. So let's go back to the journals. I'm just going to click the journals tab on the left-hand side here. And we'll just go back to the food and mood journal, and we'll go back to yesterday. So we'll note here that on the right-hand side, underneath daily targets and totals, you'll basically be able to see, you'll be able to view the nutrient target and totals, which is great for seeing where your client is at on their health journey. So this is one of the best features for client accountability, as it allows you and them to track their nutrient intake. I also set specific targets for calories here, carbohydrates, and caffeine. If the bar is red like it is for calories, it means that they either did not meet their target or they exceeded it. For example, Mary exceeded her calorie target for the day and would be aware of this herself because she'll have the option to view this as well. Please note, though, that if you do not want your clients to see this information, it can be disabled in their journal settings. When viewing your clients' journals, you can quickly check all the food intake and activity they have logged. So in Mary's journal, for example, we'll see yesterday she was pretty diligent with her logging, and she did her breakfast here. She also put in like how, her mood and how she was feeling when she ate. And you'll also see below that she logged her lunch. And then lastly, she had logged a mid-afternoon snack as well as her dinner here. So these will count towards the totals that we were just talking about on the right-hand side. This will automatically populate with the data that is inputted by Mary in her journal section here. So now I want to highlight the other section, which is the lifestyle tab. So if we go ahead and click on that, we can check our client's progress in terms of things like sleep or activity, basically anything related to their lifestyle. So for example, we'll see here that Mary got 8 hours of sleep last night and she also went for a 45-minute walk. So both of these things, they both met her activity targets for the day. So it really helps them keep on track and know that they're making progress towards their goals, which is, I think, one of the most important things for client engagement. So one other great feature about the journal section is that your clients do have the option to link both Fitbit and Chronometer. And that data can actually be automatically synced to their journals. So this setting, it has to be linked by the clients, but it can be found in their client portal. It would look similar to this. They would just need to click the gear icon here and just select this third-party integration. And if they have access to the journals, they'll have the option to link both. So let's go back and switch back to the food and mood journal. So another key aspect of client engagement that I find with the journals is the ability to comment on their entries. So this allows you to engage with them and keep them on track towards their goals. So you'll see that me and the client have both commented on the breakfast journal entry, for example, and to make her feel encouraged and that I'm seeing her responses. And it helps her doing things like, catching bad habits or nutritional trends and letting them know if they should make any adjustments to their diet on a day-by-day basis. And then you can also, you can use reactions, emojis. You can kind of do anything that you'd like to. And if I just want to, keep her on track, like let's say I don't think I added anything for her dinner, so I got to say something along the lines of "Great job, Mary," and then that way she'll receive a notification, and she'll know that you're checking in on her. So the last thing I want to show you in the journal section is what Jen mentioned, which is the analysis tab, which I think is very, very handy. If we scroll right to the top here, you'll see this option here for analysis. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. And with this section, you can compare different types of data that your clients have logged in the measurement section of their lifestyle journal. So for example, Mary has been pretty on the ball with logging her weight. So I'm going to go ahead and select the drop-down menu in the top left-hand corner here. And I'm going to switch this from nutrient consumption to measurements. And I want to check how Mary has been trending for the past 14 days. So you'll see you can choose how this data is displayed, but if I hover over it, will show the entries for each day. And I can also choose how it's displayed. So I have this set. I prefer a line graph, but you can also have this disable this and have it display like this. So kind of whichever type of visual graph learner you are, you can customize this however you'd like. So one other thing I'd like to note is you can customize the analysis if you want to see like a different range of time. So for example, you'll see like you can do 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, a year. And you can also track many different types of measurements such as water intake or calories burned. And optionally, you can choose to give your clients access to this journal analysis, as giving them that insight and visibility can help keep them accountable and engaged. So if you did want to do this, that setting would be found in the gear by clicking the gear option here. And then you would just go to portal preferences. And then we'll just scroll down, and underneath food and lifestyle journals, if this option is enabled like it is for me, that means my client will have this available and they can view that at any time. So I'll send it back to you now, Jen.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, so we covered a couple things there, but I think really our goal was to just highlight a couple of the key features of the journals, like we were saying, that can really help to keep your clients engaged and accountable. And I love the ability to comment on the journal entries and react to them with emojis. I think that's so nice in just having sort of that real-time communication with the client on something really specific. So instead of reaching out to them in the chat, you could just respond right on the journal entry to just keep that conversation really focused to that piece. Which I think is really nice. And then, enabling their access to the analysis, which Sam just showed us the setting for that. I think that's really nice, just in giving them that visibility into their progress and where they're at with things, some of the trends. So sort of depends on, how you work with your client and maybe even the type of client, if you'd want them to have access to that. But, you can play around with it on your end first and see sort of, do I want to give this to my client as well, access to them. I've seen a ton of comments and questions coming in about different integrations for the journal. So Aura Ring, Apple Watch, MyFitnessPal, we don't integrate with any of those currently. As Sam mentioned, we integrate currently with Fitbit and Chronometer, but we're always really open to your feedback. So if you do want to submit a feature request, the best way to do that, you can actually go right from your Practice Better portal, click the little question mark icon, and then contact our support team. And you can actually just submit a feature request there. So if there are things you'd like to see, we're always really open to hearing your thoughts and really taking those into consideration as we grow the platform. Amazing. All right, so we're going to shift right into our next section because we're coming up on our hour and we may go a few minutes over, just to let anyone know if you do have to run. But again, this is recorded for you to come back to anytime. Okay. All right, so the last sort of strategy we want to touch on is looking at our chat feature. Now, this is a feature we really love in the platform that can be used, to communicate with your clients, both one-on-one. That's available on all of our plans, and you can also have group chats as well, and that's available on the Pro plan and up. So we're going to talk about a couple of ways that you can use the chat to help, again, boost accountability and engagement with your clients. So not only one-on-one, but also with groups. And the first piece with that is sending a check-in message in the chat. So maybe this is something you want to do, say, on a weekly basis with your clients or even daily. You can do that again with one-on-one clients or with groups. And actually, if you're on the Plus plan or the Team plan, you can schedule your chat messages to be sent at a later date and time, which we're going to look at too. What we love about this idea of sending, a check-in type message is that, you can ask for your client's response, and it's all happening in real time because you're right in the chat with them. And if they, if they even have the mobile app, which we have a mobile app for anyone who isn't familiar, they can have that even right at their fingertips. So just to help with compliance and that kind of thing. I see a comment. I love using the scheduled chat feature from Gidget. Yeah, it's such a good one. Love it. So with this example, what we're going to look at first is, perhaps you want to check in on, how your client has been feeling since maybe they made a certain change, like increase their water intake. If it's a group program, maybe you want to touch base on, the wins and challenges they've had for that week. Those are just a couple examples, but yeah, Sam, let's take a peek at the group chat and how we can use this.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. So I did see two questions I can answer with one. Wendy had asked about how do we tell our clients to input their measurements, and Madalena had asked about are there any webinars or training videos aimed for clients to use this tool. So on our YouTube channel, we actually do have a playlist specifically for accessing the portal from the client's perspective. So I would definitely recommend sending that to your clients if they have trouble, if they just want to learn how to access or optimize the platform. So that's just on our Practice Better YouTube channel. So yeah, let's dive into the messages now. So as you mentioned, you can send check-in messages to your clients and you can schedule these in advance. So to do so, we'll just go ahead and open the Messenger tab in the bottom right-hand corner here. And then all I would need to do is expand it so I get the full screen view. And when I do so, I want to do this with a one-on-one chat first. So I'm going to use my client, Mary. So I'll go ahead and click on Mary. And I'm just going to type a copy message here that, like, you know, I'm sure you guys send similar types of messages to this, but so I'm just copying it over here. Bear with me. I'm just going to do like, hi, Mary. So I saw your recent journal entry and want to check in. How's your digestion been feeling since you increased your water intake? So basically, once I enter this text, I can select this option here. This, if you all see the schedule option. So this allows you to actually select when the message is going to be sent to the client. So I'll go ahead and click that. And what I want to do is similar to the way that we timed, as Jen mentioned, our cadence of the task and form reminders. I'm gonna structure this and set this to go out on April 7th at 10 a.m. as well. So all we need to do is just in the date drop-down menu, I'm going to switch to April, and I'll select April 7th. And I want this to go out a bit later in the morning than 8 a.m. So this time I'm going to do 10 a.m. I'll switch it to 10 a.m. because I can get specific with the times. So then from here, I'll just go ahead and select schedule. And now that's it. The message will be delivered at that date or time. You won't have to do anything else. It's all taken care of. So it's a great time saver, especially if you like to plan ahead or know specific things that you want to notify your clients about in advance. This allows you to get that all squared away and off your docket. So you can also do the same thing with group chats. So I do have a group chat open here with my health reset program. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to just post the message here at the top. And this one I've structured it in a way that it's based around, because this is registrants for my program. So I'm going to schedule this around as if they were getting to a specific module. So what I would do is I would paste the message here. It says, hi, everyone. Today is week 4 of the program, and I wanted to check in with you. What has been your biggest win and challenge so far? I could also, let's say, if I want to optionally just tag specific clients, like if there's a client that I know is more excited about this module or anything along those lines, I can choose by typing in the @ option here. I can choose, like, if I'll use Mary again. Let's say I want to notify Mary specifically, or I want to tag Mary specifically. That's all I would need to do. So now it's the same option here. I just click on schedule. And because, for example, week 4 is the week of April 14th, sorry, week 4 of my program is the week of April 14th, which is when that module becomes available to that client. So I want this message on this date to sync up with their fixed date program module. So basically that way they'll receive the message on the day the module unlocks. So I'm just gonna go ahead and switch this to April, and I'll switch it to April 14th. And I'm gonna do 10 a.m. again so that I'm not notifying them too early. I'll do 10 a.m. And then same thing, just go ahead and select schedule. And that's it. So the last thing I want to note is that once you've scheduled any messages, you'll see this little scheduled messages tab on the left-hand side here. All you need to do to view any of them is to click on this, and you'll see here that I now have an idea of when my all my upcoming messages are going to be delivered. So when I click on this, I do have the option to either edit if I want to change the content, reschedule if I want to change when it's delivered, or I can just select delete if I no longer need to send that message. And then you can edit these at any time up until the message is sent. And that's the main ways of kind of interacting with your client via chat, via like one-on-one and group chats.
Yeah, that's great, Sam. And just to reiterate, we've had a couple of times a question about the scheduling of messages. Which plan is that available on? Again, that's available on the Plus plan and up. So if you're on the Plus plan and up, you have access to that really amazing time-saving feature to be able to schedule your messages. It's just such a great option when you want to just plan ahead. You could just bulk type up all your messages, schedule them out when you need them to go, and then you sort of don't need to worry about it. And you don't have to be doing it in real time, which is just so helpful. Okay, great. So one other thing we want to talk about with regards to the chat and how you can use this to engage with clients is to share content within the chat. So different types of content that might, get the client's attention or provide value to them. Now, of course, within the platform, within Practice Better, there's many different places to share content that may make more sense for you to share it versus a chat, but we did want to just show this as an option. So, and it also with the chat too, it then provides an opportunity for asking for their response in real time to whatever that was. So with it, let's look at a specific example here. So let's say with a group program, you wanted to put up a post in the group each time a new module releases. So you wanted to time that post in the group chat with the timing of the module being released, just to, have another sort of touch point with the client at the same time as the module opens. With the chat feature, you can attach a variety of different types of files. So whether it's like a photo, a video, you can also share links within the chat to an external resource, or as we're going to show you in a moment, even to an internal resource, such as like a specific program module. So you can actually include a link to a specific program module in the chat as a way to sort of engage with the client and get them to go to that content. So Sam, let's take a look at an example of that now.
Thanks, Jen. So let's go back to the same program chat we were in previously, my health reset program. So if I did need to attach any files for my clients, all I would need to do is click on the plus button here. So this, so once uploaded, apologies. If I were to click on this, it would open the files on my computer, and I can attach a file from my computer. And then I could still schedule this message in the same way as my other messages. So I would attach the file, write a message here, and then just click on the schedule option as well. This can be extremely useful for if you want things like handouts to all be delivered to clients in your program at the same time. So you'll see below that I've already attached a message to my program group chat in addition to the message that we scheduled for the group earlier. So I use the attach option I just mentioned to add an image to the message. And you'll see here that I also want to highlight that you can include a link, as Jen mentioned, to a specific program module. So basically your client can click that module and be directed right there. And it would make it very easy for making sure that they keep on track, keep engaged, keep doing what they're supposed to be doing. So you can get really creative with your ability to message clients using the options we went over, and we'll be able to ensure that they are getting the most out of their time with you.
Yeah, I love that, Sam. Yeah, and it's just nice, when you are, maybe it's for a group program or even one-on-one, to use things like photos or links or videos or even little emojis like we had there, just to sort of, bring more awareness and attention to the message. It's a little more engaging for them, right? Versus just text. So any sort of areas that you can sort of bring in some creativity from that perspective can definitely help to keep them engaged with your content there. And one other thing I just wanted to mention before we wrap up that you could also utilize when it comes to the chat is that you do have the ability, if you're using the mobile app, to add voice notes to your messages when you're messaging with clients through the platform. So this is another sort of creative way that you can engage with them in the chat. But again, that's specifically using the mobile app that you can add those voice notes. So just wanted to mention that piece. All right, we are a few minutes past our hour time. Thanks everyone for sticking with us. Sam and I are going to put our cameras back on here, and we're just going to share a couple of final resources for you here as we wrap up. So if you have any follow-up questions, I know there were so many questions. We value and appreciate your questions so much, and apologize we couldn't get to everything. But if you have further things that you need, there's a couple really great resources we have for you. So I'm just going to copy actually these links into the chat as well as sort of walk through them with you. And the first one is our help center. So our help center is definitely like the quickest and easiest way to find answers to your questions. So many incredible help articles that walk you through step by step, help you troubleshoot and things like that. We also have our YouTube channel that I've referred to a couple of times, which is where you can find the replay for this deep dive and all of our deep dives, as well as many other tutorial videos, both for you and your client. So there's a link for that there. And then the last thing, another really amazing resource is actually our private Facebook group. So if you are on a paid Practice Better plan, then we would love to welcome you into the Facebook group. It's a really nice way to find answers to your questions, creative ideas and inspiration from other Practice Better users, and just really connect with like-minded practitioners there in the group. So if you're on a paid plan, we would love to have you join the group, and the link is there to join. Okay. Yeah. And Miranda asked, how can I join? I put the link there, but I'll just, let me grab it again, put it in the chat so you can easily get that and join the group. Okay, and then just one final mention to the feedback survey. I really want to make sure you can get your own copy of that check-in survey. Or check-in form, sorry, that we have talked about many times throughout our session today. So if you're able to complete our feedback survey, then you're going to get access to that. And again, the instructions will show you how to download that right into your own Practice Better account. Okay. Thank you everyone so much for being here. We hope this was really helpful in sharing some ideas on how you can keep your clients engaged and accountable using Practice Better. And we'll see you back for the next deep dive next month. Okay, thanks everyone. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Jen. You guys all have a good day.
Bye.